BVB, welcome to your host, John Duncan, Darian Spit, and Jimmy Marion. What's going on with you two, guys?
Well, I would have tried to flex, but I'm definitely not going to flex after Darian just did that. Like somebody else going to have to go. I'm not following that up.
What's up, John? What's going on? And I know we talked a little bit before this, so it'll be good to have a little bit more of your input on these conversations. I feel like we're gonna need you, John, as
hmm
football coming up. So we're gonna need you. We're gonna the people have been requesting to hear from you, man.
right around the corner.
Yeah,
hmm
it's right around the corner. So
Yes.
we're here to get not a hype train, but I know one thing that everybody has been asking me about is just we're their go-to source for intimate knowledge of the team for their genuine connection, right? So
hmm
I'm proud of the work we do here, and um and I'm just ready to be back for the. It's like we've been on this long vacation. It's not. It hasn't been a vacation at all. Trust me, but I'm ready to get back to work.
Speaking of Jimmy Marion, you guys um, follow us on Twitter
Hmm.
and Facebook. Those articles, my God, thank you.
Yeah, no, I've had fun doing that with Darian. So me and him been, talking a little bit. And one of my favorite parts about the article is getting the insight from Darian. So that's something that we've always enjoyed, whether it be on the Patreon feed or here in the YouTube page, is getting that intimate knowledge from Darian as he watches the film. So it's really cool to see Darian put the time in, watching huddle film, putting in the work, and
hmm
telling us what we might be able to expect, from these commitments. And speaking of that, we probably won't spend a lot of time today because we're going to focus on schedule in this upcoming season. But, Darren and I are putting in a little bit of work on some of the commitments that UAB football picked up this week. And so be on the lookout, to John's point, for us to release some articles here, maybe as soon as this weekend.
hmm
Yeah, and just the I love to show love. So if you're on Twitter or X or whatever you want to call it, shout out to the guys. I feel like that has been doing a good job of keeping it afloat. I know Steve Article at the banner. He wrote a good article today about basketball. Tim Stevens with Die Hard Network. That's something that he's just started up. Shout out to Tim. It's been producing good. It's a G6 coverage, so
Yes.
it's for all G6. So go check out Die Hard Network, and then just the accounts. The Golden Ticket. He's always on it. Like the Mort Bus, they all
hmm
have been doing really good job of whether it's basketball or football. I know I'm missing an account or two, but I just want to show love because it's cool. If you are a day one UAB fan, you know about the coverage blackout that this team has had. It was no
hmm
information pumping at all. So
hmm
you found out when the game was played. That's how it used to be here. So to just to be able to go to accounts and see some really inside info, and like Steve is actually on the site talking to coaches. It's just really good to have that 24/7. So shout out to all y'all.
Yes. Speaking of football, they'll kick it off Thursday, September 3rd.
It was Saturday. Remember they moved it. So it was
Yeah.
Saturday. We have to wait two less days now to kick off
Yes.
and see we're used to Thursday nights. I mean, we're used to playing on Thursday nights. Typically it's at home at Protective Stadium.
Mhm.
Why is that, guys? Do y'all know is the
I don't
reason?
know.
Why was it moved up?
Mhm.
Yeah.
I think it was TV related. I don't know for sure, but you can see it's
Uh,
on the Big Ten network. So I think it was an
mhm.
opportunity to put a Big Ten game on Thursday night, which I
Okay.
believe is the opening night for FBS football. So just like a lot of other things connected to TV.
Don't forget week 0.
Week 0, yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. So that symptom was that is that week 0?
This won't be the
Okay.
week zero is typically the weekend prior. So I don't have a countdown clock here, but speak to John's point, I was thinking about this the other day, is I'm just really excited about just college football being on TV, just
Yes.
casually just watching and seeing it all, other games too. Of course, we're here for the Blazers, and that's the only game I'm going to sit down and actually watch from start to finish. But just to have like the opportunity to have other games on would be cool. So however many weeks that is, I don't know if it's somewhere between 6 to 8 weeks, we're gonna blink and the team's gonna be on the field and hopefully we'll have boots on the ground at practice and seeing how things are going during fall camp and we'll be previewing against Illinois before you know it.
Mhm. Speaking of that, at Illinois.
Yeah. 27.5 point dog right now, the betting line. So if you don't want to get your money in, your bets in right now, that's a tough switch. I don't remember if we asked Coach Mortensen about this, but talk about a change in dynamic where, we're accustomed since the return and playing a much more winnable game on paper on Thursday night to start the season off with a win. And this game is going to be a mighty tall task to achieve a win. Wherever you put a Big Ten team on the schedule, first game, last game, middle of the season, it's going to be a very tall task. There have
Mhm.
been plenty of upsets over the year. I certainly would not project an upset here on June 26th. Not feeling that frisky yet. But Darian, I got a random question for you. I think I know the answer. I haven't talked to you long enough, but what in your mind, think back to like when you were playing, like were your openers typically more like this, where they were against like a P4 opponent? And would you have had any preference, like player wise, and then just, even fan wise, what would you kind of rather start the season with the opportunity for that major upset or maybe an opportunity to kind of ramp up against a quote unquote, more winnable game?
So, and that's a good question, but I think that what I've been finding out is that I believe that psychology is different for so many players. So it's hard to nail down. I was always a anywhere, any place type of dude, or sometimes I fed off of the villain energy. Like I love, you know, talking noise and shushing the crowd. Like it did something to me to kind of I wanted to crush people. But I was just like really competitive, and I found out that like mentally I probably would you because I was kind of undersized back then, but so mentally I was more so on the strong side. However, I've seen crowd noise and I have seen being on the road, I've seen it affect people, and I never understood it. I honestly didn't. To me, where you play ball is ball. And the type of opponent that you play, whether it's a P4 team or whether it's Alabama State, made no difference to me. Because to me, I saw you as an opponent. Once you get on the field, you put the pads on, you got an opponent in front of you, it really don't matter what's on their jersey. It's a person. It gets real then. So, but now you can tell the talent difference from some, but that I found out that that varied. Also, it didn't matter the team; it mattered that player. For example, I remember playing Dontari Poe. He was a first round draft pick when he played, when we played against Memphis, and he was the game plan. We were focused heavily on him. However, he had a defensive tackle next to him that was strong as rocks, and I was like, Jesus Christ, this dude I could barely move him. Now I could block him, but I couldn't move him. I'm like, we talked about Dontari Poe this whole time, but this dude right here, just random guy, I can barely move. So it just varies, I think, on the psychology. To me, it never mattered. And honestly, I like seeing, I liked going to get somebody that we were heavy underdogs to get just against just to see how ready we really were.
Mhm.
Sometimes I feel like you can get, I don't know, I can't remember if that was Trent's first year. I can't remember that team we played. I remember we got the special teams block touchdown. Do you guys remember that?
Was that the interim season of Bryant Vincent?
NT
Was that NCAT or was that Alabama A&M?
and the cat.
Okay. I remember that, and it was just like we scored defensively, we scored
Mhm.
on special teams.
I think that was Bryant Vincent's year. It was like 59-0 against Alabama A&M,
Oh,
where it was like Mac McWilliams, I think, had a pick six, and there was
Alabama
like a punt block, and we just
A&M.
it was like 28-0, like
Okay,
before you
so it
could
was the
blink.
next season against NCAT that I'm talking about with John, because we still ended up blowing NCAT out. But I remember looking at that game, and I was like, y'all, if you looked at the game, we didn't dominate the way that I wanted to dominate, like in
Yeah.
the trenches, and
Yep.
like they were getting moved. So all that to say is I prefer just matching up against somebody equal or better just to see where the team, because I knew where I was at. I'm like, I can go against anybody, but I wanted to see how we measured as a team. And then sometimes to me, it was like, all right, I know what we need to work on going into the season. Some people like to get wins and, for their confidence and stuff like that, but I really didn't care about that.
As a fan, I like going against Illinois.
Yeah.
Yep.
Well, I think some of the pros is the Thursday night kick because you can start practice
Yep.
earlier. So, I think that dictates when you can begin fall practice officially. So we'll
Mhm.
kick that off earlier. And then also I think you know, the fact that it got moved to Thursday earlier means that you get additional rest and preparation for
Yep.
Louisiana Monroe in week two.
Uh-huh.
Louisiana Monroe in week one plays at Mississippi State. So that is a televised game, ESPNU on Saturday evening.
Hmm.
And they're around a four touchdown underdog in that matchup as well. So UAB will have a little bit of extra rest in preparation for Louisiana Monroe, and UAB will also have an opportunity to avenge what was a difficult game a couple years ago in Monroe, Louisiana, and will have the advantage of having for their home opener the Warhawks, coming to town. But I mean, obviously, there's a lot, and we could talk about Illinois, but I think if we jumped ahead to week two, if you guys are ready, like that's the really intriguing matchup to me. And it seems like every season almost we've got at least most of them thus far. There's been this opportunity where you can break one way or another. And I would think that just for the morale and like just the storyline and stuff, a home opening loss to a Sun Belt team with that's coached by your former interim head coach, the way they like to play, that would be tough to start off 0-2 because then you bounce back and have to go on the road to arguably a more talented on paper team, Louisiana, and then have Navy at home. It's just a tough start. So that week two matchup against Louisiana Monroe. Again, I want to preface this by saying, like, I like Bryant Vincent, like, a lot. Like, I like the guy, and I like the way he just, I like his passion and, I mean, his vision. And, so I kind of am rooting for Bryant Vincent, but not on Saturday, September 12th at all. So, but I just want to be clear that, I definitely have respect for Bryant Vincent. And I got to say that after we whooped our you know what a couple years ago.
Hmm.
Yep. They whooped us good.
Gotta win it.
Yeah.
What
And
about Darian? What do you think? Like, I think about the psychological, like, kind of preparation in the off season for that week two matchup. Like, some of the thoughts in that, early season game where we lost to Monroe was there were some thoughts about, Louisiana Monroe had, a lot of, thoughts and a lot of preparation. They're really focused and zoned in on that UAB game for, obvious reasons. But as both teams, UAB and Louisiana Monroe, have a similar P4 opponent in week one, it's going to be interesting to see like how much allocation, how much time is spent preparing, for that game on both sides. It's an opportunity
Mhm.
for Mortensen to do something that the previous coach here at UAB was unable to do, which is to beat Louisiana Monroe. It's an opportunity to start off your home, stand with a victory. To get some
Mhm.
momentum there. And for Louisiana Monroe, the game is huge for all the same reasons we talked about. So it'd be interesting, like behind the scenes, motivation wise, psychologically, like how much emphasis both coaching staffs were putting on that week two matchup. Or as a fan, am I overblowing the, significance of it?
Well, I know, like from a coaching standpoint, I guess that depends on the flavor of the coach. As a player, I want to prepare for week one like I prepare for week two. I want to win that. So what am I looking for? And are we going to be predicted? Are we predicting Illinois? Are we predicting a win or loss against Illinois? I'm predicting a loss. However, I am looking for the spirit of the team, the cohesiveness, the competency of the team. I remember watching that Tennessee game last year we played, and we didn't look like a competent team. Like, I'm like, what are we doing? I could say that about FAU. I could say that about when we played when we got embarrassed and we played Tulane that year and they put up they're still scoring. I just heard them score again, from so it's like those teams were not indicative of a team that was competent. I want to see a team that can go out there and make Illinois work, like actually make them make plays. Like don't just not out of position, not teams that's just getting steamrolled, getting bullied off the ball. I want to see a team that can make them sweat and when at the end of the game, and if we can make them sweat and get into the fourth quarter and it's like we done stuck around, we can make this a game. You remember the optimism we had against Georgia? I mean,
Hmm.
when we played Georgia that year, and then we played Tulane, and we almost came. We took that year and we went into the next year with that optimism because we saw the spirit of the team and we thought we captured something, and we didn't. But we thought that's what I want to see: competent team that can make other teams beat them, you know. So I think that's what's important about the Illinois game going into the ULM game. If we can look at film and be like, dang, okay, we got something here.
Hmm.
Then I think we can go into that ULM game and I think we can pull it out. We should win that one just based off of how we know what our team can do. Now, as far as like preparation psychology, I thought last year Trent took it personal and tried to, I'm out tough him. I'm going to run the ball down. It was a dumb game plan. That's what I feel. And well, let me not say dumb game plan because I wasn't in the war room. It ain't like I was looking at the X's and O's and looking at film. Um, I don't agree with the game plan. I thought we tried to out muscle them and I thought it was ego put on display trying to prove a point.
Let me
That's what
ask you this quick question. Like we're going to look at the schedule as a whole probably at the end, but if UAB loses to Louisiana Monroe in week two, can UAB make a bowl game despite starting off 0 and 2? Or is
that's
that all she
deflated.
wrote?
That's deflated.
No.
Because I would say this the games still have to be played. Um, I've seen teams start off bad and they finish strong. But if we're talking about psychology, what do you think that ULM game did to those players last year, right? So it wasn't about the psychology from the first game. It was the after the ULM game. It's kind of like, dang, we suck. I didn't know we sucked that bad. And I remember looking at that schedule and I was like, guys, what game do we win after performing like this? Thankfully, we won some games, you know. But that psychology can do something to you. Depending on we're at home against ULM. If I think more in this coaching staff, if they are who I think they are, I predict that we win that game.
I'm also going to predict a win because I cannot accept a loss
Yep.
in that game. So we're 1 and 1, baby.
At ULL.
That was tough for me. I couldn't name a
Yeah.
single player in Louisiana Raging Cajuns here on June 26th. I respect the program. I know they've
Yeah.
been competitive and a good ball club, and I believe that's where Billy Napier had coached. And I think they elevated an interim, and I'm pretty sure that he's still the guy. If
Hmm.
memory serves me right, I'm going straight off. Just trying to remember last college football season. I thought they had some injuries at quarterback, right? I think they had a guy that transferred in from an SEC school that was supposed to be good, and he got injured early, and so. I think their season got derailed. So I think that's going to be, it reminds me kind of Darian, maybe, this would be even a tougher game, but it seems like in some of those early Trent Dilfer years, we'd have that road Sun Belt game, like that Georgia Southern road game. Maybe it was in year one. It's like a toss up, in my opinion. Like Louisiana would probably be slightly favored on paper. Would it be I don't know. Would it be 5 to 7 points? I don't know if it'd be that large, but I think it'd be Louisiana would be favored to win the game. Can UAB win that game? I think absolutely, especially if you're coming off a good, victory against Louisiana Monroe in a decent showing against Illinois, and you're starting to get into your groove a little bit. If we were to drop, Louisiana Monroe, I think that anything could happen, but that makes that game. I think all of a sudden you're probably closer to like a double digit 9, 10 point dog, and that game becomes just more of a mental hurdle. But I think not to get too far ahead and skip to the next week, but I think it's really important that UAB finds a way to split, whether it be Louisiana on the road or Navy at home. Just as you look across the schedule as a whole. Um, what do you think, Darian, though, just about, I guess that'll be 2 road games in the first 3 weeks of the season. But another Saturday game on the road against a Sun Belt opponent. It's at least, would you agree it's a toss up? Let's put it that way.
Yeah, I believe that game is a toss up. Let's say ULM has toss up vibes, but I think it's like 60-40 UAB right now as we sit. I think Louisiana is a true 50-50, especially in this day and age of the transfer portal. Let's be real. Like the ULL, they probably don't know what they have at this point right now. Just like we really don't. Like we know the bones and structure of our team, but we really don't. The thing is, I see Louisiana, they play Lamar and they play USC, their
Mhm.
first 2 games. So we get to see them on both ends of the scale here. And we get to measure up what we can do. So we'll have kind of more of a sense after those first 2 games. But at this point, it's a toss up, and I can't predict the winner or loser. I have no info on that team at all, and it's just harder and harder to get info on teams. And then last year they were like a hit and miss team. They were competitive, you know, like they could give James Madison a run last year, and then they lost to Delaware. It looked like, like they were just all over the place. And so who knows? We'll know, but it's definitely a toss up. Anybody that say that Louisiana should be favored in that game, they're lying to you.
Mhm. Their quarterback's name is Lunch, and I think he's pretty good. So
Lunch.
there's your random fact for today. Again, June 26th during the summer.
Yes. Friday night, UAB welcomes Navy. No Horvath.
Yeah, that's big. Yeah, no Blake Horvath. I think he's finally. I looked at the roster before we started just to make sure because that's a big deal. Their backup, not saying he's any kind of slouch. He got some playing time because they were blowing people out. So he's got some opportunities, and so it's not going to be an easy game by any means. This one's interesting on the schedule because you turn around and that would be a short turnaround, right? You play Saturday on the road, you get back, late, into Sunday morning, and then you got to turn around and you have a Friday night kick. So that is going to be an interesting dynamic. But we talked about TV networks, I believe, at the beginning of the podcast, and that would be an example of why this game is on a Friday night. I think it's going to be hard for some. Friday night high school football, September. It's a 6 p.m. local kick Friday night. There's lots of reasons why people may not be able to go to that game and may choose to watch on ESPN. But for those of you that are sitting back and not even, you didn't even know it was on Friday night at this point, like go ahead and start making plans for it. Try to get off work a little bit earlier if you're working downtown or have a babysitter watch the kids, whatever you got to do, to make that ball game. So those of you that work downtown, just when the game's over, head over to Protective Stadium, but start making plans now because if we're looking at the schedule and we're sitting here and we're thinking about the possibility, if UAB's 2-1, after 3 games. I mean, talk about that's not out of the realm of possibility. It's also, we understand UAB could be 0-3. Anything could happen. But if UAB starts the season off right, 2-1, you've got a nationally televised game against a notable opponent, Navy's going to have folks, the casual fans, come out to that game. That's a pretty big game for the American Conference for the standings. You start to think about the conference standings all of a sudden because you're entering conference play. Why do I feel like every year we have to start off conference play with like just like a really difficult game? Like I don't
Hmm.
want to throw shade in the other programs, but it's like, you got to go beat Navy. At least we got them at home, I guess. But start making your plans now. I would say that. You got to hope that the changes on the defensive staff, as well as the new haul of players on the defensive side of the ball, is going to help. They're going to be 3 games into this point. Hopefully, health is okay, and UAB is able to be more competitive against the Service Academy. I would say that this is a winnable game as well. But just on paper, it's probably to most going to be more so of like a Darren. I think you mentioned earlier, like maybe UAB 60%, 40% for Monroe. I would argue that maybe it's flipped, like maybe Navy 60% favorite, UAB 40, and you get that 40%, partially because it's a home game, but it's a game that UAB can win, and I'm gonna feel a lot better about it if UAB is able to start off at 2-1. If UAB is sitting at 1-2 or 0-3, probably singing a different song at that point. So
Yeah, by that time, we'll have a lot of information gathered from the first 3 games, so we'll know what type of team we are. I also was looking up to make sure, I'm trying to see if Drew Cronick took a head coaching job somewhere. He stayed, I'm surprised by that, honestly. But yeah, like no Horvath. I made sure they don't have that running back. I forgot his name last year that would kill you up the middle half the time. Or y'all remember who I'm talking about? The running back Navy had that was just like torching us every
not
time.
the name, no. Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just had brain surgery. Who does Navy have before us?
Oh, good question. Yeah, that's a good question because Friday night, I mean, both of us, I wonder, because you're going to start getting into buys, right? You're going to start having teams that maybe have a scheduling advantage. And so it is good to kind of look to see who Navy's got. So it seems, um, speaking of that, Navy has a buy before us. So Navy's got an early season game against Towson. That's going to be a win. Then they go at FAU
That's
on September
interesting.
12th, and then they're off before they come here. That makes that game really tough because
Yep.
UAB again has a 6-day turnaround coming off a road game against Louisiana, and again playing 3 straight weeks. That's tough.
But sometimes when if let's just say it's tough if you like 0-3 or if you just got your butt whooped the game before you that's when the vibes. But if you kind of got the vibes going, let's say we actually go to the UAL and kind of put a whooping on them. Like
Mm.
it's like a 38-18 type of game or 38-21, something like that. Sometimes you want to keep playing. Like,
Yeah,
man, let's
good
keep it
point.
let's keep it going if we talking about psychology. So
You
uh
nailed that because I think didn't Coach Mortensen, I think he implied that because UAB didn't have a bye. Like I think FAU, the firing, then they went in and Mortensen took over. And then we played Memphis right away, and there wasn't a lot of
Mhm.
time to think. Like it was just get straight to work. UAB beats Memphis, upsets them at Protective, and then I think there was a bye week, and then we
yeah.
came back, and I don't remember if it was Rice or who we played. I can't remember. But then we lost like 4 straight or whatever it was. And so yeah, I think that's a good point. If we're doing well. And then another little note here is Navy does play the week after UAB at Air Force. And so maybe
Hmm.
there's a little bit of a overlooking the UAB game a little bit, because you're thinking about that game against Air Force, just trying to, find some silver lining there. But still, no matter what the case is, UAB is going to need, whether it's Louisiana Monroe or, Navy, they're going to need some early season support, and so just be preparing for that Friday night game and tell others about it as well. It should be a heck of a matchup, and so just prepare for it.
Yeah, I would
Um,
I would say 60-40 Navy sitting right now, but let's gather information on the team and then come back to
right, absolutely.
Samford, Samford, we all agree. W.
Gotta be. You cannot lose to Sanford. Yeah. I
Yeah,
mean,
but I
Sanford,
respect that program. I
Yep,
yes.
respect
yep,
them.
yep,
Yeah, one.
Yeah.
Let's be clear. Like we
Yeah.
respect Sanford.
yep.
I'll tell the story how we, when I played, we actually got into a fight with Sanford at a Club
Oh,
South.
oh.
Shout out to Club South.
But you know what's
Eh,
funny? I bring up this story is funny is that I'm at a track meet with Zoe. I mean, not a track meet. I'm at a track practice, and one of the fathers is down there. We talking, we good. He tells me he played for Sanford. I'm like, oh, what year did you come out? They say I came out like 2012.
mm.
I said, oh, hmm. I remember we used to do a lot of 7-on-7s with y'all. By chance, do you remember a fight at Club South? He was
Ah.
like, don't tell me you was in that fight.
Ooh.
So I'm talking to this guy, and we just reminisce the whole fight, about it was just that's why I bring it up. But all of that to say, I'm sorry, that was a side quest, guys. We got a fight. It was like, and we had two recruits with us. I will say their names. I'm not gonna even say their names here. We had two recruits with us that during that time. It was only like 10 of us and like 30 Sanford guys. I would like to report that we still won the fight because we
Let's
turned off
go.
the lights.
Let's
And the two
go.
recruits committed because they said that
Yeah.
that was they said in their eyes, they said it was lit and that we worked as a team.
That's what's up. UAB has
Yes.
So
always been the underdog. We were just we were man down. We
we
still
were
won.
Yeah, we
Yes.
still won. So all that to say is we respect Sanford. I love their program, but I do predict the W.
Yeah, that Sanford matchup, basketball and football, we're starting to play Sanford more, and I think that's good for
That's
both
right.
schools. And
Yeah,
it's a good opportunity to show that we're not, scared to play, with the possibility of getting upset, by Sanford.
we definitely
And
can.
so
Yeah.
yeah, but going that game, I guess still to this point, UAB, yeah, doesn't have a bye until later, which is
Mm.
fine. But that'll be an important game. Certainly have to win that one, and that would be the third game at Protective Stadium. So hopefully, at the worst, you win two out of your first three games at Protective to kind of keep the momentum going at home and hopefully you can win relatively easily. Not saying we will, but hopefully you can because that's going to lead you to a very important game the week after on the road at Memphis, a game that's drivable for a lot of fans, and you've got the
I'll
trophy at play.
I will be there.
Nice. Yes.
Hmm.
John's going to be in town. You heard it. You
Yeah.
heard it here first. Yeah.
And the thing about
Uh,
Memphis is like this transfer portal era. I don't know. And they have a new coach. I believe there's that Charles Huff over there now.
yep.
Yes.
Yep.
Yes.
Yeah, so they have a new coach. I'm pretty sure they have a new quarterback and they have a new DNA of a team. I can't sit here and tell you. People will look at the name and say, yeah, like UAB is going to lose. Listen, they said that last year, and we should have been ripe for the pickings last year, and
Hmm.
we smacked them.
Right.
So all that to say is I have no idea, and I'm not finna sit here and act like Navy. I'm kind of I would say 60-40 Memphis but percent because we're at Memphis. But again, I don't know anything about Memphis, and I'm not just gonna say they're gonna win because of a brand. I'm not, no. So
Yeah.
I would say 60% to 40% chances Memphis win, but can we beat them? Absolutely. Would I be shocked if we beat them? I would not be shocked. But it
Hmm.
all depends on how we look in these games prior.
Yes. Homecoming Thursday. He see you.
This is where you start to look at the schedule and like for anyone that wants to make the argument that this schedule is pretty difficult, I think this is a great uh, point, meaning that you have that rivalry road game at Memphis, and then you turn around. We had the six game, we had the 6 day turnaround earlier that we talked about. Here you've got road game, and then you turn around and you have a Thursday night matchup again, another televised game. So I mean, this is good. I mean, this is where we want the UAB brand, to be extended. We want to be on TV. We want to market our university. Unfortunately, for football. The last couple of years we've been on TV getting spanked, a little bit too often for our liking. But this is an absolutely huge game. I know some folks. We can talk about the homecoming dynamic here. At the end of the day, the decision's made. So I mean,
Yeah.
it's homecoming at this point. It's on the schedule, so we can talk about our thoughts on it. But I will say, trying to think about things positively, is it will add, some extra juice to that game.
Hmm.
To the extent that players are going to be tired or whatever coming out of hopefully a much, a game the week prior at Memphis, so that'll be a tough game. Hopefully, the thought of a bigger crowd and lots of activities going on campus, having students, there, is going to give UAB an extra little juice there. Seems like we haven't played East Carolina in a while, unless I'm
Hmm.
crazy. So that's
Yep.
interesting to play ECU to get them to come to Birmingham. ECU is a very respectable team. So I look at this game as a real opportunity. And having it be the homecoming game, despite what some might think about it, may help UAB get that extra juice to help them. Because was Memphis homecoming last year, as an example? Was that the homecoming game? What was homecoming last year? Y'all remember?
I can't remember which one was
Yeah, I
that.
want to say, part of me wants to say it was Memphis, but I could be wrong. And so if I am wrong, sorry, listeners. But my point is, I think that it being homecoming, is going to be helpful to UAB from a student support. I'm not saying from an overall crowd city support, but from the students being there, it is going to be a big deal in that game.
Yeah, I think that if we talk about psychology of players real quick, one thing you are happy about is if you're a player, you coming off all of these long string of games, you going into the homecoming. This is the homecoming game. You have a week off afterwards. You're at home, nothing but it's homecoming. So it's like after parties like that you can get into. You kind of juiced up for this one. I'm trying to think if I'm a kid, like I'm a player, and I'm just like, man, this is going on tonight. This is going on tonight. We back at the crib. If you can get a W, you know how getting a W and then going out like having fun and then knowing that you got a week off. I feel like it just have you ever just made some
Yeah.
food and you got your plate set up so well? It's like, ooh, like you took time in the kitchen and you made sure that it took longer to prepare, but you knew why you were taking that time to cook. It's like, ooh, I got everything. You make your plate just right. Then you cut on the movie and then you got the AC, and then you go get your drink. So you got everything set up to have a great time. This is how this plays out to me. It's like if you got all the ingredients to have a great time that night. So as a player, you like, let's get this win because I'm not trying to go out after a loss. Nobody wants to go out and have fun after a loss. And let's be real, they're kids. They're young adults and kids. They're gonna go out and have fun. It's homecoming, and they got the next week off. They're gonna go.
Hmm.
You want to send yourself off on a win. So with that, I'm going 55% UAB. Just
Yep.
off of the psychology right there.
Memphis was homecoming, by the way, and that's my exact point. Is that, you know, do you remember, Darian, when you were playing, like what your homecoming matchups were in years 1 and 2? Do you remember who you played and whether y'all won?
Ooh,
I was
that's a
there in
good
school.
question.
I don't remember who the hell we played, but I just always think back to, I forgot what year it was. I feel like, I don't know if you were on the team, Darian, that played Central Florida that was like top 25 on a Thursday
I
night.
was on that team.
Okay,
Yes,
and I remember hopping the fence after the game and then immediately being told to get back in this, the bleachers or whatever. That was awesome. I don't think that was homecoming, but
I remember playing USM when they was top 25 too. I don't know if that was
Hmm.
homecoming either, but
mm,
you juiced up, like
yeah,
knowing that you're gonna have that time off, and it's like looking up and you seeing the vacation, and you want to send yourself into it the right way.
yeah.
You don't want to go in there with sour grapes, and especially with all the activities and stuff going on that day. So kind of looking back, if everything go right, I mean, how many games is that?
That's 7 games. I was about to ask you, as we transition to kind of the post bye week, pre bye week, like what are you kind of looking at? Worst case, realistic case, best case there, first 7.
It's either 3 and 4, 4 and 3. And people
If
can
you, I
say
mean,
that's
either of
that's pretty,
those. Sorry, go ahead.
and people can say that that's pretty optimistic, but when I look at it, I mean, plucking, I can see us plucking one of Navy, Memphis, or East Carolina. I can see us maybe getting one of those. So I'm giving you the more optimistic take.
You're going to
That's
be
what I think.
favored in two of them. I mean, I think you're going to
Yeah.
be favored no matter what happens in week one with both teams. You're going to be favored against Louisiana Monroe, slight, whatever
Stanford.
it is, and then you're going to be favored against Samford. So, I mean, just even there at the end of the day, you're going to be favored in two of those games. And if it wasn't for the Bryant Vincent element, I think less people would maybe be a little bit frightened about that Louisiana Monroe game just on paper. We respect Louisiana Monroe because we know how he recruits. He's going to have grown men like JUCO flashbacks of Darian Smith all over that roster, that are hungry, so that's going to be a tough game. But yeah, I look at it and would say
I mean,
realistically 3 or 4,
Louisiana.
4-3, because you could argue Monroe Sanford, and then beyond that, let's throw Illinois out of the mix. So you're talking Louisiana, Navy, Memphis, East Carolina. Like if you split two of those four, there's your four wins, right? You know,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
even if you go 1-3, you got the three. And if you go worst case, if you're 3-4, you can look at the next, set of games, and we'll talk about them here in a moment. But I think in either event, Darian, whether it's 3-4 or 4-3, this team will have a bye week and a reset and still has bowl eligibility on the table.
Or, we could be sitting at that time if we being real, we could have one win. It could be Samford, right? Like I mean, that's real. Like you can be 1-6, going into that week off. But there's so many possibilities. I would like to think the realist, if we're going for the realist is I would say to be safe. And I hate saying this, is 3-4. To me,
Yeah.
that's being safe.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Is that I think that will be, because I think this team, and then we'll talk about the reasons why, but I think we kind of have the ingredients to at least do that. What you think, John? You didn't give your opinion on the first half right here.
John's at 7-0.
3 and 4.
3-4.
Yeah.
For kind of all the reasons we laid out, or you got
Yep.
your own? I got you. Well,
um,
what you got? What y'all think USF after the bye week?
on Halloween, they are not.
Man. Yeah, I mean, I think that's tough. I think that's tough. I couldn't tell you much. I know they hired Hartline. I know they got a lot of money. My assumption. I know a lot of their players went to Auburn, so they went there. But I'd be lying to you if I sat here during the middle of the summer and I said I got my preview of South Florida, on deck. Obviously there is arguably some sort of a benefit in getting some rest in preparation. But unfortunately, South Florida also has a bye week. Let me look here, make sure. Yeah, bye week for South Florida on October 24th as well. So
Yeah.
South Florida plays Kent State at home on the 17th. Then they have a bye, and then they host UAB as we're talking about now. So you really don't have an advantage from that standpoint. I'd say that in a game like this, unless UAB has had one of those 4-3 starts, or 5-2, like if they're shocking everybody. I think this would be, I'd lean more towards like South Florida, kind of maybe that 65, 70%, in this game. But what do you think, Darian?
Yeah. Thing is, I like for teams to kind of prove it. I don't know nothing about South Florida. I don't know nothing about Hartline as a coach. Um, I do know that they have resources, like you said. I know they're gonna have all kind of like stupid promotions on. It's Halloween. It's gonna be like,
Hmm.
ooh, like they every time they get a turnover, a touchdown, it's gonna be whatever. Um, I guess we'll have enough information stacked up, but just looking at it on paper, you would probably say that's like a 70-30 USF, just based off the history,
Hmm.
and based off their resources, and that we're on the road playing them.
I
Yep.
agree. First Saturday in November, UAB welcomes Charlotte 49ers.
You got to win this game. Like, there's
Yeah.
like one of those other you put an asterisk on there. Like, I couldn't tell you much
Mhm.
about Charlotte as well. Like, I respect their coach. He was a good coach in the MAC. Didn't have as great of a year in year one. I know that, just high level. They should be improved from first year under, their new coach, going into year two. But at the end of the day, you're at home, and if you want any chance of really getting bowl eligibility, in my mind, like, this is a prime opportunity. And again, I look at that home schedule. Monroe, Navy, Samford, East Carolina, Charlotte. I would put Samford obviously on paper should be the most obvious win, but I'd look at the Charlotte game kind of like I look at Louisiana. Monroe is I think UAB will be favored in this matchup, and I think the expectation should be that UAB should win. It's not us blowing smoke and trying to, blow hype, into this matchup. And when you're thinking about what the goal is, at least for me, is bowl eligibility to make the numbers work. I think this has got to be one that you get versus relying on, because you look at the later in the season at North Texas, would be tough. It's a road, but then UTSA at home, and at an improved Temple team, and we just talked about USF. Like, you can't go, especially if you had a homecoming loss, then you have a bye week, then on the road at South Florida, you lose that, and then you lose this one as well, and you go on the road at Temple. Like, it's just kind of, you can't let the season unravel on the back end, in my opinion.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I believe that we should win this game. It ain't too much. I don't know anything about Charlotte, honestly. And we'll figure out more during the season. I hate to keep saying that, but that's kind of where we at in this day and
We
age of college
we spotted
football.
him one a couple years ago, didn't we, Darian? At the end of the game, we missed like
Yeah.
what, two field goals.
Yep.
Like, I mean, we under even that circumstance, like, we were on the road there, and we should have won that game, realistically. And so, yeah, there's
Yeah.
got to win this game. If not, I think it's going to be super tough, to reach those goals.
I
Yeah,
agree.
I think, but if we just looking at it and we doing our count, I think at that point, I think we say that's a win. I think we're 4-5 going
Yep.
into Temple.
Yep.
At Temple,
Another toss up. It's another toss up. It's on the road. And if I'm looking at it how I want to look at it, whatever, win. I think we can go and win that game. And I think we're 5-5.
I agree.
It looks like Temple has Navy on the road the week prior, and then faces us. They have Rice the week after. They close with Memphis. Um, yeah, I think UAB is going to upset someone in this season. I'm not saying this would be like a mass upset by any means, but I mean, there's going to be games in which UAB is going to get upset, and then the UAB is going to upset people. Looking at the road matchups here. Um, yeah, of the ones that we've talked about thus far, I think at Memphis on paper would be more of a challenge, but you have the rival, component of that game. I would see this similar as like Louisiana, where I think it's a toss-up game, and you kind of bunch Louisiana and Temple together. Like, I think you need to win, one of those games. And so if UAB gets that Louisiana road game early in the season, I think that you could look at this one, you can survive with a loss in this game. But if UAB loses against Louisiana early in the year, maybe to make the numbers work, I would say that at Temple game becomes that much more important. Temple is they've been down, but they got Casey Keeler as head coach, and they were more competitive last year. I don't know, again, a lot about their existing roster going this season, but they play in that big stadium in Philadelphia. I don't think that, no shade coming from a UAB fan. I don't know if the home crowds will necessarily be, much of a factor in that game. But we can certainly win that one.
Yeah, as far as road games go, Louisiana, Temple, and North Texas, you kind of put them in this lump of you can win those games. It's on the road, it's just kind of it's so much of a toss up. Like what we're doing, guys, it's almost like I don't even want to say predictions, I think, but we're just trying to map it out and see how it could look, just trying to be realistic. And every team that we're looking at probably got at least 20 new players.
Absolutely. Yeah.
Every team that we're looking at probably lost their quarterback and their running back, and some half of them lost their coach. So it's
Hmm.
hard to say. It's, back in the past, you could just say, if we doing this 10 years ago, we'd be like, oh, we're gonna get our butt whipped right here, but we definitely gonna win this one. But now it is listen, we got a new coach, we got a new DNA, a new feel. It's hard. So I'm just saying that I think we could be 5-5 going into UTSA, right? I mean, going into the UTSA at home. And honestly, I think we got a shot to win that one. I think that's when we become bowl eligible.
Mm.
Let's talk to the Alamo Audible. Let's see what they let's preview November 21st game.
Nothing about UTSA is saying dominant. Like I I think we're at home, and if we are who we think we are, and if we are at least 5-5, 500 at that time, if it's playing out how we think it could play out, I think we win that game. So that's just me.
Looks like UTSA's got North Texas the week prior. They end the season at home against Tulsa, so we're sandwiched in against those two games. I'm just thinking like general vibes. It seems like the vibes around like UTSA is not as strong as it was, in prior years with Jeff Traylor, and so it
Hmm.
seems like just vibes haven't been very good. And I think that's maybe something to watch is just high level is how does their season overall go, and how much discontent is there, with Jeff Traylor and his position there? That's a good question for our friends over at the Alamo Audible. But I think having this game late in the season, which could be the same case for UAB, but UAB starting a new regime with Alex Mortensen as head coach, it seems like vibes aren't as good. So for all we know, UTSA could be the more talented team on paper, but by the time we get to November 21st, things could be going backwards for that team. So I think that's definitely a winnable game for UAB. But UTSA could turn it around because we've seen them be really good as well. So it just depends. But I would agree that's a winnable game.
At North Test, Test, Texas.
Yep. Didn't we have a weird, I think about at North Texas, speaking of like, defensive touchdowns, I think it was like TD Marshall, like, back
Oh
when he was, I
yeah.
think he had like a really, nice pick six or something. I'm trying to go off the top memory here. And then we had, was it Trent Dilfer's first year that we had that, shootout? I think that was a
Hmm.
relatively close loss, like the last
Mhm.
game of the season. So we've had some, close games. And I think about, the old matchups with Bill Clark's defense and North Texas and their offense. Like there's a lot of good games, in this history with these programs. But North Texas has Neil Brown as their, new head coach. This is not this is not the North Texas team on paper as it was last year, and that's no shot. I mean, their team last year was incredible. Half of them are probably at Oklahoma State, right? Um, but I find it interesting, with Neil Brown is, what I recall from the coaching search was that he kind of, looked at the UAB job and thought he was a little bit above it. He was had his eyes set, on some higher level programs. He ends up with another American Conference team, albeit a team that again is coming off an incredible season. And so I'm kind of intrigued by that matchup. I look at it like Darian has said, for a lot of these matchups is, it's winnable, So I think UAB, who knows what the season will look like at that point in time, but I think you see the theme of this is like, man, we're early. The season previews are still just coming out, and then people doing the season previews don't have a dang clue, what's going
None
to
at
happen
all.
because nobody knows anything. And so, as we get to this far in the season, hell, we don't know. When we get closer to the game, we'll have a much better idea. But the theme is that you're seeing a lot of winnable games. You're seeing a lot of losable games. You're seeing a lot of winnable games, and I
Hmm.
think that's reason, depending on how, if you're glass half full, glass half empty, is probably the direction you're going to take. We didn't say this at the beginning, but I think the over under is at 3.5. So, we can touch base on that at the end to kind of see where our final projection is. But, I like to look at things logically, take the emotion out of it. And so that 3.5 kind of swing is 3 or 4 games. I think that's fair. on paper, I think, putting your money down on it, but it could swing in a lot of different directions.
Yeah, and I can sit here and tell you that a lot of the staff and coaches they think they can win 8, 9 games. Like they seem to be very confident. I'll probably give North Texas that edge, not because of North Texas of last year, but because it's on the road. It's last game on the road. So I say it's 6-6. I can see 6-6 being very reasonable, and it can be any variation, like just like take three over, under and over from there. It can be 3 wins, it can be a 9-win team. That's why I think the range is, and I wouldn't be surprised. What you think, John?
Um, Ew.
You just
Um, Speaking of the 3.5 total, are we going over or under?
Over.
Over. I
over.
agree. I
Yeah.
agree.
I feel like the floor, I mean, I'm sitting here and I'm thinking, I was telling you guys pre-show, like Darren, you had just say like the staff, some confidence from some staff members about what the ceiling is. And like that's kind of what I was leading into this summer thinking was like, hey, ceilings maybe closer to like the maybe around like the 7 range or like even perfect scenario like 8, like getting somewhere around there, which is of course a ceiling is a ceiling. It's like, I mean, like of course it's not more realistic than somewhere in between. But then when we had talked and there was Steve Irvine that does great work and massive respect. He's got boots, speaking of boots on the ground, he's at the practices, at the scrimmages, and he had the quote from one recent interview in which he was talking about, kind of that 3.5 number. And, I forgot the exact quote. I don't have it in front of me, so I don't want to misquote him, but it was kind of leaning towards like it's going to be, paraphrasing here, a challenge to get to 4. It would be admirable, to maybe get to that 4 game, win. Um, and, that was, my first thought was, I don't want to, of course, we're going to, but I don't want to have another 3 to 4 win season. Like I just don't want, I know it's obvious, but it's like,
Yeah.
it's just in today's game, the catch 22 is no one knows what the hell is going to happen because there's so much turnover. But at the same time, because there's so much turnover, you can turn things around quicker. Like it's not like you kind of got what you got. It's like, so you've seen programs do that. And we know, everyone knows how we felt about that recruiting class and what the staff did in the portal, and they know how we feel about our confidence in this existing coaching staff. And so, for me, just to kind of like close thoughts on the schedule is no matter how things shake out, like the floor of like what I guess I would be, happy about would be, let's say we have 5 wins going into game 12 and the bowl game, like I want to go into game 12, either bowl eligibility is secured or it's on the table. Like if we're going into the last game of the season and we're not playing for anything at that point, because bowl eligibility is off the table, like I would just look at that as a whole and think that's not going to be a successful season, like in my mind, which means that you're going to have to not just beat the 3.5. I mean, you're gonna have to overdo it by several games to get to 6. So, with all that being said, I think that that's very possible. I would not think much higher than 6 games is likely, but I would be sad if it's 4. Like I don't want 4. Like I don't want to hear anything about 4. Like I want to hear worst case scenario 5 competitive, and then
I think
I'm wishing for 6.
parity is the name of the game in all the
Mhm.
sports. I think since like the Warriors, shout out Yaks, but I think since like the Warriors, there hasn't been, for example, in the NBA, there hasn't been like a back-to-back champ since like 2018 or
Yeah.
something like that. It's like a long time, and it's every year it's a different team, and it's been like that. I feel like it's just been a lot of parity. That's why you get Ole Miss like threatening really hard in the playoffs, and you seeing teams like Texas Tech starting to break through in college because they spend that money. But so like you said, there's so much parity. There's so many things that can give you a winning edge. A coach can give you a winning edge, and the optimism I take is we couldn't win a road game or we couldn't win a ranked game to save our lives. And then all of a sudden we got more. I'm not saying that, losses to Rice and stuff, that was disappointing. We were competitive those games. That was disappointing. At least we were competitive in those games. We just had got smacked by FAU like we were a third grade team before when Trent got fired. Then we turn right back around and we win versus a ranked team. And we lose some games in between. Most of them were competitive. So, and then we go on the road and then we win again, which we could not win a road game to save our lives for years with Trent. And we do that with Mort. And so I choose to be more optimistic because of the DNA of this team. Um, and then also, I think the strengths of this team is like I love that we'll have some pass rush this year. Um, and I love our running backs. I think we have a solid offensive line. And I think we have the running backs we don't have to depend on a quarterback. And we don't have, because I do think the questionable parts to me will be at receiver. I think we need to see who our playmakers are. I think our defensive secondary, I have no idea what they'll be. I think they have some potential. I don't know. I think we don't have Sean Myers at linebacker. I think he was slotted kind of to be like a veteran presence that was going to start at linebacker. So not having him hurts. So I don't know what will be at linebacker neither. I am excited about quarterback if we can stay healthy there with Ryder. I'm excited as hell about our running backs. And I think we have the offensive line to provide the lanes for him. And I'm excited about the trenches on defense. All that to say is I think we have the right pieces to play the game, to be able to lean on a run game. So that's what I think about when I project these wins and losses. I don't think we have to have Ryder going, you know, 40 for 49 for
Yeah.
392 yards and five. We
Mhm.
don't have, he can go, Ryder can go 19, 19 for 30, like a good efficient game for 220 yards, two touchdowns,
Mhm.
Yeah.
something, and it don't even have to be that exciting. And we have three in a possible running backs. If Collins can stay healthy, that's four really, really good running backs. Shout out to Bam McReynolds. I hope he scores like three touchdowns against ULM.
Oh,
Right.
that'd be, yeah, a good
Yeah,
storyline. Yeah.
so all that to say is I think we have the bones in the right places. I think the pass rush and like a healthy Nigel Tate, if we can have those guys on the defensive line and the outside linebacker, rush linebackers, if those guys can stay healthy, we had zero. I feel like we were the worst pass rush team in college
Mhm.
football last year.
Yep.
I feel like I could have rushed the passer just as good, and I'm being so serious. So now I think that has kind of totally flipped. I think we'll have one of the better pass rushing units, and I think we'll be better against the run too, especially with a healthy Nigel Tate and Cookie and a lot of those transfers we had brought over. So that's the reason I want to project to be more glass half full on this team because of the what we have in the trenches and how we can win games. I think we can we can stop teams on third and short or third and long. We can stop a team on third and long to save our lives, or we
Mhm.
can get a crucial fourth down stop. But also, I think we can get a yard or two when we need to. We couldn't do that. We couldn't convert on third and two last year. But I think we have the personnel to do that.
At the end of the day, defensively speaking, are you gonna be better or worse?
Yes.
If we, the floor is if we suck 1 and 11, or will we get better? 6-6.
Yeah, I think that's fair. These
Mm,
defensive staffs, to John's point, last year UAB allowed 38.3 points per game, worst pass defense in FBS, gave up 9.7 yards per pass attempt, couldn't consistently pressure quarterbacks. But we got Todd Grantham on the sideline. We've got some returning coaching staff, and they went to work on the defensive line. I think Darian brings up a good point about the linebacker position in the secondary. There's a lot of guys, in that secondary. It's just kind of figuring out where all the pieces fit. But this year, one of the biggest changes, one of the biggest things that could help us win games this year is getting finally some pressure on the quarterback. And
And having Todd Grantham. Do y'all
yes,
remember? I feel like the past defenses we played conservatively. But we were like, if we're, I remember us talking about this, and we saying if we're going to get bummed on anyway, you might as well just try to pressure. Like, it didn't matter if we played, coverage. I'm like, dude, we played coverage and we still got a, 50-yard gainer caught on this. Like, we might as well just send the house and gamble.
mm,
And one
mm,
thing I like is that we got better pass rushers and we have a bona fide strategic gambler on defense. He's going to send pressure. They've talked about it. You can look at Inferno podcasts and hear A Train talk about it and say, man, they confusing you. They send it. Todd Grantham is sending
mm.
blitzes. So I know it was the running thing about the third and Grantham and blah blah blah. Listen, we were UAB in whatever you want to say on third down. It could be third and 17, and I'll just be sitting there like, please, can we get a stop? You know
yes.
how embarrassing that feels? Like
Mhm.
to say, please, can we get a stop? It's third and 17. We got converted on, I feel like every time. I'm like, oh my God. So I would rather blitz, seeing confusing blitzes, like it's better than just sitting there and if you know a killer is coming and you're just waiting there, it's just like, oh, you're gonna stab me. Oh, he's coming. I can't do anything about it. I'd rather try to be like in the Jason movies when you run, and at least fall down and get shot. So that's just where I'm at on that. I know it was a couple of questions. Um, I saw the biggest one to me was because I know we've been talking for a while. And I gotta get ready to get on the road. But the one that I'm excited about that was asked was about John's progress. So,
Oh,
John, if you can give us a little insight.
I have an MRI uh, 2 Thursdays from now, the July 9th. Y'all pray for me.
And then I guess after your after that MRI, we kind of get to see like what route you need to take medically.
Tumor, uh, hopefully it shrinking.
So that's what we need to pray for, y'all.
Yes,
So let's
yes.
let's pray for like the tumor to be shrinking. And first of all, John hasn't slowed down at all. If y'all think this has been slowing John down, I feel like it done turned John up.
Hmm.
He's
Hmm.
always on the road doing something. So and so he's trying to get me to go to the Don Toliver concert.
Yes.
Okay.
But I don't have. I'm like, dude, like I'm being broke. Pray for me as well, because all my girls are in these activities. I don't have any extra money. If y'all
Yeah.
want to give me some money to go to the Don Toliver concert, y'all can do that. Me and Journey need to go. But yeah, John ain't
Yeah.
slowing down at all if y'all think that. But we still want that shrinkage of the tumor, even though he hasn't let him slow him down at all. We still want that long
Yep.
term.
Yep.
Yeah.
So
No doubt.
thank you for that update, bro.
We got two more questions real quick. Yeah, we posted on X before this episode, and we'll try to give you guys more of a heads up next time. But just we want to always, say thanks to our listeners and supporters, and also just talk about guys, talk about topics that you guys are interested in. Is it well? First, yeah, that was from Dave Franklin, by the way. The question from John or about John. So we appreciate your support, Dave. Is it Stefan Adams? Do y'all know, or is it Stefan?
Yeah, I think it's different.
Stefan? Okay.
Yeah,
Stefan,
Stefan,
if
my
it's not
boy.
Stefan, help us out in the comments. Make sure we get that right next time. We know you've been commenting and a loyal supporter of Blazer Victory BVP for a long time, man. So we appreciate you very much. You said, how do you all feel about UAB football this season? Do you think we can turn the corner and win quickly and make a bowl game? We touched base on that a lot during this episode, so I think we hit on that, but I think all three of us believe that yes, that's
Yes,
possible.
is the
And
answer.
Yes.
optimistically, we're going to say yes, we're going to do it. It's not going to be easy, but there's a pathway to get there. And so it's going to take all of us, Stefan, and all of us and all that's listening to the show to support this team and to take that positivity going into the season. But there's definitely a pathway for us getting there. And then last but not least, Thomas Johnson. Speaking of guys that have supported BVP from day one, man, we appreciate you and your friendship. He's asking about any updates on basketball, summer workouts, talking about KLM. And then also about maybe talk at some point about Bartow renovation. So I think that's a good Patreon, transition for us. So I think maybe you guys, if y'all are up for it in the next, maybe I think they said the basketball team's got a week off here, but there was a good article by Steve Irvine, the Birmingham Banner, about basketball, just kind of catching up on that. So if you haven't read that, please go do that and support Birmingham Banner. But I think maybe in the next 2 weeks or so, we can hop onto a Patreon, talk a little bit about Bartow, state of the program from the basketball standpoint, and maybe best case scenario, we have an update on KLM. But from a basketball standpoint, is just completely different because it's like the expectation is like 20 plus win seasons and competing for championships. They're just in a different. You can have 13 guys leave the roster and replace them with 13. And from a basketball standpoint, we're not talking about just trying to be middle of the pack in the conference. We're talking about winning the league. So there's going to be basketball season starts obviously much later than football, so it's a little bit further down the path. But Thomas, we're definitely going to probably do another Patreon episode here on basketball in the coming weeks.
Yeah, I'm sure we are. I can to add just one thing. I like what it seemed like Coach AK's tone in these interviews. It seems a lot different than last year. It's kind of like, hey man, we figuring this thing out, but man, we need some work. Woo, God. Like that was kind of the tone last year. Looking at the comments now, he's kind of like, hey, we got a good team. Kind of like, it's like, he don't want to gas his team up too much, but you can tell that there's a lot more optimism this year. So I think
Hmm.
please go read that article. It was a great insight article from the Banner by Steve Irvine.
Am how close and get.
Let's
Oh, for
close it out,
sure. Like
fellas.
that's what you do. You're the finisher. You start us off and you finish us, man. You got it.
Beep, beep, BVB. Thank you. And go Blazers.
Go Blazers.